We're standing up at above Paddy Dwyer's in Ballycrystal. Really, it's in the town's land at Big here, where we actually are here now. And Ballycrystal is just across the Story River there, back behind you. And then farther on here is Clorog Moor, and up here, which is all part of the Blackstairs range, but that's Stooline that goes up here, and that's meeting the Carlow Wexford border. It's up on that mountain there. Back here, where is what they call the moats up there. Back there you can see a little hut. That was the tough hut where they cut the tough time out back in the 40s. And the peak back there is the Black Rock Mountain. And this one here, that mountain there, is the Clorog Big one. And you can see the top of a mountain where there's a little, you can see where there's a little cairn on top of it back there. That's Tullawn. Now, Blackstairs at the back of them, you can't see it from here.
That's Tullawn. And do you have a different name on those piles of stones? Did you call them?
No, cairn of stones.
Cairn of stones. And just down below them, is there a thing called the piles? Is there?
Well, that one. In fact, that one is the one we call the piles. You know, if you were talking to anyone here, we said we're up at the piles. That's the one we'll be at there, and that's on the top of Tullawn. And the Kiltaley side comes in near that as well. The Kiltaley Mountain. There's Kiltaley Mountain and the Clorog Moor Mountain, Clorog Big Mountain, Ballycrystal. They're all joined together, and that land one time was belonged to a landlord, Wallace James, and he owned it from down the big bridge, Dordan's Bridge, up to the top of Mount Leinster there, up where the mast is. He owned it all that mountain, so it belonged to that landlord.
Wallace James?
Yes.
Wallace James. And was there a story about him years ago? There's a few stories about him, was there? Loads of stories about him.
There was a few.
Right, yeah. But, and the hills up here, so that's Mount Leinster up there, that's where the mast is.
That's where the mast is, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
That's 2,610 for high. 2,610. Blackstairs Mountain, as people used to say, is the same height as Mount Leinster with a man sitting on the chair. Blackstairs is the same, but Blackstairs is only 2,409. 2,409 is for Blackstairs. That's 2,610. So there's a high man on a chair.
A tall man, yeah. And you were telling me there was different names. Was there a name for these pile of rocks or over here behind you?
Well, the Eagle's Nest is in there at that, where that, some people call it the split, and more. My mother used to always talk about the Eagle's Nest, and she said that was at the top of the split there, and that's up there where it is.
Where's the split, Jim?
It's just in them rocks there. You can't really see. That's very steep in there, but you can't see it looking from here. But it's in that area there. You wouldn't be able to walk up there now. At one spot, it's just straight up.
And the Eagle's Nest was in there, was it?
He was up there on rocks up there on the top of that.
And what was it, a little cave or?
Well, I don't know, I was never up at it, but it said there was eagles in it. Yeah. I mean, there was eagles here at that time, but there's a few places on that mountain that there was Eagle's Nest. Yeah.
And over behind us then, we can't see it, we have the Courier's Den, is there?
Carrew's Den. Well, that's on the Blackstairs Mountain now. Yeah. That's back behind.
That's over here.
That's the man he robbed the rich and helped the poor, put the shoes on the horse backwards. That's what they said. I don't know. But there's a place up here where the tree is as well, and that's known as Hughes's Walls. That's here. Where them beech trees are. That was Hughes's. That was a farmer's place there one time.
That's Hughes's there, and then there's another lone tree down here as well, is there?
I don't know what, but see, there was houses around a lot of them places. You walk through that, you see little stones where there was houses, like, you know, they're all gone down now. And there was out on the other one there, the lodge, there was a gamekeeper's lodge in it. And a man told me one time that his father told him that there was people over from Scotland, and they were wearing the kilts, and they were minding Kerry cattle on that mountain out there, the lodge. And that was also belonged to James Wallace. And the lodge, I remember the lodge down altogether now. It was a big square building, a high building, it was about 3-story high. The last woman that lived in it was Mary Brennan, and she was gone out, I don't know what, she was gone before I was born, but not long before I was born. She lived in that place, but it's down now. You can see a bit of the ruins of it still. But it was a lodge, and the Scottish lads, gamekeepers, stayed there and looked after the cattle on the mountain.
And you were also telling me that your father said that there were families here who were evicted during the famine, set up homes here.
Yeah, they moved up all around the mountains, up around, they came up, well, that happened over Rathnure as well, and all that Black Stairs mountain, and up the mountain up for Scollach. A lot of them moved up into Scollach, place in Scollach, and Knockrow. There's a few walls up on Knockrow, and if you come up Sleevegar, there you can see walls in a couple of places. Now, I don't know a whole lot about that now, but that's where a lot of them evicted moved up that way.
And who told you that?
My father was telling me that, and an uncle told me about it, because when they were evicted, well, there was up there, the land wasn't great, and the landlords didn't want to take it or anything, so they moved up there.
And what year was your father born again?
He was born in 1905.
Okay.
Yeah, so he remember back a long ways.
Yeah.
A lot of changes since then.
Yeah. And did he ever mention that it was like, if you look down below us here, that's all County Wexford down there?
That's all Wexford you can see, yeah.
Yeah. And sure, there would have been people who would have took to the road during the famine. Of course there were.
Oh yes, there were. See, they had nothing. You know, but there is places around where you see little huts, and that's all they had was a hut, like, you know, something with a few scraws up and big sods up on it, and that they had for shelter. Yeah. I mean, and that happened not that awful long ago too, those people evicted, you know.
Yeah, I know my own grandmother always told me that she was nearly evicted. They couldn't pay the rent, so she got out before she was evicted.
Yeah.
And that was in the 30s, she said, in her case. 30s,
oh
40s,
yeah, that was
40s.
happening, yeah.
Yeah. And the people had nothing, and they had to go live in a little 2-roomed house down the bog, she said. That's where they had to go, yeah.
I knew one man evicted down there. I'd say his name, but I remember the place, and he was evicted, and the place was planted then after. And that was in around 1945 or that, when I remember an eviction, and the Land Commission took over the place because he wasn't able to pay the rent and that.
And when you...
Oh, it's not that long ago since it happened. Huh?
Yeah. And when we planted, it wasn't planted by planters, it was planted by trees?
Planted by trees, yeah, forestry. It's forestry now.
And that man went off and had to go live somewhere else?
Actually, he had to go live with some of his family and that, but he had no place to finish up, like, you know.
And what happened to the house?
Well, the house was down there for a long time in the forest, but it's down now, like, you know. It was used for a lodge in the forestry. You know, the forestry used it for a while, like, for to put implements into, and it was a type of a lodge or a hut for them, for the forestry workers.
Was it a big house, Jim?
I don't know. It was a fair-sized house, I think, like the farmer's house. You know, the farmer's house, a couple of rooms on each side and 2-story high. And yeah, that's what it was.
Fine house then?
A fine house. Oh, it's a fine house at the time, yeah.
You were saying to me as well, at certain times of the year you'll spot, I've spotted them myself, you'll spot the old potato beds over here.
Yes, early in the year, before the ferns go up, you wouldn't see nothing now, but before the ferns go up, there's a good few ridges there. And that's where they used to sow the potatoes and that. People, they had nothing else, they had no land of their own. And so the rent was so high, they weren't able to afford it. And I heard about people lived where I came from nearly, and they all had little pieces of land, that the whole lot of them. They were living in a cluster, and they were sort of fighting about who owned it what. And the landlord came along and he says to him, well, he says, I'll tell you what you do, level all the ditches, he says, and I'll come back and I'll mark out a little piece of ground for you all. So I don't know, there was about 5 or 6 families in it, so they levelled all the ditches. They met up with the landlord and he came over with a couple of men and a pair of horses, an old battering ram, knocked down all the houses, and the whole lot of them had to move out. So I don't know how true that is, but I think it was true.
You heard that, did you?
Yeah.
Growing up. Was that the famous Wallace again?
That's the same as Wallace again, yeah.
He's gone now, is he?
Oh, jeez, he's long gone. I don't remember him. Oh, I belong to him. Well, there might be relations, I think, all right still, but they're not around, none in Ireland. Yeah.
And your father told you that story? Or your uncle?
An uncle told me that.
Good Lord God.
Yeah.
And come here, I won't keep you much longer. There's the Turfman's house up here on the hill here behind you.
Yes.
Another little small house. I'm going to zoom in on it there now. Do you remember that being built?
No, but I remember when they started drawing the tuff out of it. And that was built the time of the war, when the war started. So the war started at 39. So after a while there was no coal or nothing to be got here at that time. So the men that contracted for that road was a man, Matt Brooks, and there's some of the family living over there in Kilteely, and Jim Farrell. They contracted for it. I knew them people, knew them men. I knew a lot of the ones that worked on it. And I remember when they were drawing the tuff out of it, because they used to pass by near where I lived, and they had lorries, and they drew a lot of tuff in a scarty. That's where they stored it. They brought it down off the mountain, and they made big clamps down at the foot of the mountain, and then they drew half of the lorries. But that road was all done by hand up there, dug out and stones and everything like that.
And you used the word a clamp there. A clamp for the...
A clamp was the turf, where you put in a big heap of turf, and you set them all a certain way on the outside of it, and you set the turf a slight slope that the water come out run off it. It's the same as making the rick of straw. And they we used clamps on that mountain Tullon over there as well. We cut tuff up there, and you couldn't go up on it with a horse and cart. So we had a thing called a dray. We called it a dray, a sort of a sleigh. And you fill that up, it slid down along behind the horse, and we put the tuff then in a clamp down on the flat part of the mountain, and then we drew it down with the horse and cart. that was a dray at that time, so there's big changes. I mean, in my lifetime, the changes. Huh?
And you were born in 1939?
39. Yeah. No electricity, no combines, cutting the cordon with a mowing machine and binding it. I made sheaves, I made the bind the sheaf. Not many left now. But they used to cut the cordon that time. Well, we were up on the side of the mountain, right? Down the country they had the binders then. And we had a binder ourselves, and the neighbours at the home had a binder, and they used to pull the binder with 3 horses. So we used to share the horses for to pull the binder. Then after that the combine came out. The trailer combine, it was pulled with a tractor. And after that then the self-propelled one come. And when the trailer one was out first, you had to open the side, the headlands of the field with the side and tie it. So I did that, plenty of it, myself and my brother, a couple of brothers. And take out the sheaves and tie them. You couldn't drive into the field, you wouldn't drive in with the horses either. And to finish up, they came and they just drove straight through it. But that was that time, like, you know.
You'd open the headlands?
Open the headlands all around the field.
Yeah. And you were telling me as well, you're saying that, I don't know, we'll turn around this way, whichever the wind is coming from you. You were telling me as well that you were ploughing at a very young age.
Yeah, I ploughed at 10 years of age. No one would believe that now, but it was only were ploughed with a horse and a pony, and a plough, a one-sod plough, a chill plough they call it. And I used to plough the field to one side. My father came out and yoked up the horses for me, and he was out his ankles, his 2 ankles was out. He put out his ankles off the rabbits, and he used to come out and yoke it up. And then when we got the ploughing done and all that, a neighbour came with a tractor to harrow for it. An uncle worked with him, and he had a harrow that time, a disc harrow. They still have disc harrow, but I think they're gone nearly now. And he got it ready, but we were only tilling a few acres that time. We would have no corn, only just 10 acres or something like that, so it'd be nothing now. But it was a big thing for us that time, have a bit of oats and stuff for the animals. That's all right.
And you were 10 years of age?
10 years of age, yeah.
Good Lord God.
Oh. And the plough with a stone had knocked me down, I wouldn't.
But
yeah, I was only a chap, very small.
Yeah. And where you were born, Jim, where you were born over here somewhere, was it?
I was born down there at the back of that mountain there. You can't see it now from here. You want to be over on Toulon for to see it. But it was in Clorog Moor. And that one there is Clorog Big. So.
And you can see all the county of Wexford from here.
Well, you can't see the New Ross side of it now from here. You'd want to be up on the. If you were up on Toulon, you would see all of Wexford nearly. You'd see back for New Ross, and you can see. Well, if you're up on any of them mountains, you see all of Wexford. But you can't see all of Wexford here because you're getting caught there with the mountain there.
Yeah, but even down below us here now, you can see down as far as.
Well, you can see back to Rosslayer. Rosslayer is there. You can see all up to the coast up along then. You can see the whole.
There's the Raven, and there's the Ballock.
Yeah.
And Owlert.
Yeah.
And Corrigrew.
Yeah. Them wind turbines you see there now, they're on Wheelagower. Yeah.
And Ballindaggin is all over to the right of them towers, is it?
Yes. That's Wheelagower ones there. Yeah. Them ones that you can see there to the right.
Oh, to the right of Wheelagower, sorry, yeah.
Well, you can see a lot of them from.
And them ones over here, then are the ones in Castle Dockrell up around there, is it?
Yeah, they're Castle Dockrell. That's okay. Castle Dockrell. That's up along all along there. Kilcullen Hill. Yeah. And out over Castle Dockrell.
Yeah. And can you point out Skylana to me? Where's Skylana? I've heard.
You can't see Skylana exactly because it doesn't show up from this side with the mountain. It's down there where them turbines are. It's where the third turbine is. Yeah. It'll be at the back of that, but you can't see it. You know, it's down the other side.
And how did you pronounce that?
Skylana.
Skylana,
I say, but that mightn't be right, but that's what we call it, Skylana.
Yeah, I won't keep you much longer because it could look like there's rain here. But speaking of rain, there's a little stream comes down from that hill. What's that called?
The first stream that comes there is the Story River, and that goes down to Ballycrystal Bridge, and it meets up with another river there, and that's the Orden River, which finishes up on out in Enniscorthy and meets up there down Davis Mills and that into the Slaney. So that one there is the Story. Yeah.
Story River. Yeah. Isn't it gas, isn't it? The little words you'd have there, whatever. You used a couple of words earlier on as well. Like a clamp is a great word. Yeah.
The clamp, yes. Yeah. Clamp. Yeah. Clamp of turf.
Yeah. There was one word you told me years ago, and last thing I'll ask you. You said that during the war you used to make, there was a type of substance you used in the steam engines.
Oh, the Croutons. Yeah, well that's where we used to get the Croutons. Well, you would get Croutons in them bogs there now, and the Crouton was the stuff in the real bottom of the hole, at the turf holes. You dug down on the lodge now. On the lodge is where we used to get that. It's at the back of that ridge there, and you cut the sod off it, which is sort of a pea thing, and the stuff in the bottom of that then was real turfy. And if you got that dry, it was the same as coal. And The same time back at the time after the war, you couldn't get coal. And if you got that stuff dry, I remember them using it at home, trashing, and it was as good as coal in it. And that was the croutons, we used to call them. it was black muck, black tough anyhow.
But it did the job.
It was great stuff, all right, but that was down, you wouldn't get much of that out of the hole, but it was really bad stuff. And it was great for the steam engine.
Good man. Yeah. Speaking of bad stuff and black stuff, I'm looking up there, I see a big black cloud coming.
Yeah, I see that too.
Will we get off the hill, will we?
We better get off while we can.
Thanks, Jim.